This is Kenneth Deal along with my wife, Farrah Rose Deal, and we're going to talk to you real quick about our books. So we have 5 books available right now and 1 on deck. The books are the Catholic Demonologist Handbook along with the Workbook and Study Guide, and the Christian Demonologist Handbook along with the Workbook and Study Guide. And that's for all denominations. Well, we also have the Haunting Self-Help Guidebook.
Any and all of these books are going to help direct you to not just the natural causes, prevention, prayers to assist you, to keep you and your family protected.
Yes, real solutions done by real people in the field. And we're sharing our knowledge and information to help you help yourself, or help a friend or a client if you're in the field yourself. You can buy the books direct and get them personally signed.
Are you looking for something special to remind you what a mystical experience prayer can be? Are you looking for something beautiful to hang in your car for protection? Try Prayers by the Bead. You'll find a variety of original, one-of-a-kind Anglican prayer beads, Lutheran, Methodist, Catholic prayer beads that are made to your specification using our materials or your materials made to order in just about any design that inspires you to get prayed right up.
Farrah has about over 100 in her inventory pre-made, and guys, yes, there's plenty of rosaries and designs for you, so to give to your father, for yourself, for your own prayer life.
We have a variety of exorcism medals, including the St. Benedict cross, beads, anything for your spiritual warfare needs. So, if you'd like some more information, find my page, Prayers by the Bead.
The Real Deals are on the air now. And now, live from the Swords of St. Michael Studios, it's The Real Deals. Kenneth and Farrah Rose Deal. Actually happened 2 weeks ago, so it happened last Friday. So welcome, one and all. The plan isn't exactly as planned. Just say your wife is on assignment. She's doing something that's important, so we're having Kevin's here tonight, and of course, Father Bob. We're going to talk about, what would be entitled Halloween legend or history? You know, it's a little bit of everything. So how do you summarize it in one thing? Yeah. So you guys started right away on this stuff because I'm afraid this might go into Deb, are you hearing anything okay with the nature of that lifestyle life? Okay, good. We call it that. Hey, can you see the screen on your monitor screen at the house, Jeff? Some of the things might prompt comments and all that. Okay, so let's go to St. Michael first. Father, will you sign this in? St. Michael first.
St. Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God cast into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who prowl about the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen.
Amen.
I heard another version again the other day. Father, you did a different one many times. Slightly different. Is that wickedness mechanical? Yeah. And then I do, the God is using the honey for you all through the neighborhood that nine powers of God, casting out Satan and the Someone said they were doing a priesthood ministry now. One of our faces, and they really didn't like it. That's okay, but that's kind of like you have to be calling your real authorities there. And if you don't receive the name, you're going to get as much done with it. Try to work on the exorcist case is the last straw that floats the demons back. If you remember that case, that movie. So we're thinking about dissecting like we did in Amityville Horror Case, but not so much the story of the movie. I'm kind of bored with people that are doing on the side over here, if you see on the screen, plays with us, and then it plays and it's going to be listen, you listen to put the phone on the back, super fast, super fast, and then we're also going to start but on the right side, oh, you guys. I don't want to lose you guys on this stuff, so we're going to have to do a sound check. Yeah, this software, I don't know what the deal is. I put it in here, and then nobody hears anything, and I have to go in and check it on, and it's off right now, and it's okay. Is that okay? Whoever's looking at this in the chat room, can they hear this stuff? It went so well at the beginning of the show too. Just roll right in without my baby here. Oh man, I'll have to do it on the next one too because it's on deck. Well, this is some props that you can buy, and a lot of and automatrons, or they used to call robotics and stuff, is a lot more easy to get because computer controlled circuits were the most expensive thing of the prop, and motor mechanized. There's been mass produced solenoids and so forth, so they get really elaborate on some of this stuff. But they do really a good job of making some of these realistic, and this is like expos where they sell them, and people go there, I guess, who have these attractions throughout the United States or whatever. Who knows the world to some degree. But it's quite interesting. I had a haunted house in 1994 with a friend of mine who ended up selling his whole car lot to make it, and then we ran out of money for commercials 2 weeks in. Started at September 8th. It was supposed to go until the weekend of Halloween, however that works out, and commercials ended up being about $5,000 a week just on radio. And those are the things that people don't expect. It was $11 after a coupon from Jack in the Box, I think it was, and that was in St. Louis. It was about a half acre of floor space. Not that we do, I don't remember how many square feet, but the guy before us tried to do something with it, and he didn't get that far, and then he called it Hell's Half Acre. But props are pretty expensive then even. But when you entered as a business, you got basically 50% off, because you're buying at cost, and they're a lot cheaper when they're $1,500 instead of $3,000 for an advanced one. But I thought I'd throw that in there, and I dropped my phone on the ground. I'll just leave it there. You want to stay on the ground? Sleep down there. I'll be the only guy's head, and it's like, hey, where did he go? I guess he's not there anymore. Okay, let's get on with this. Father, we dug up an old. I used to have this comic book of the Headless Horseman, and he throws a flaming skull. It reminds me a little bit like that movie with Nicolas Cage. What was the name of that? Something to do with a motorcycle. Ghost Rider. I had that comic book. Yeah.
Yep.
And the Headless Horseman is a interesting, to say the least, show. Let me see where that's at. But share with us a little bit about the Headless Horseman history, or however you may, the legend, which is interesting. I just remember the Disney thing when I was a kid. Ichabod Crane, very goofy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. But once it happened, man, it was pretty creepy. That's supposed to be American, right? Not the British colonies. I mean, British colonies not in actual Britain or something, even though they look Brit.
No, this is I believe it was New England.
Okay.
Well, if it was in New England, Father Bob, we're from New England, so there you go. Yeah, it has to be around here somewhere.
Yeah, I believe it, wasn't it Washington Irving? I believe that wrote The Headless Horseman.
Oh,
Sounds sort of familiar.
Yeah.
In other words, how far are you, Deb?
Talking about it.
Yeah, it's it was from a short story called The Legend of Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah.
And he was in Washington Irving. He was a American author, and so it's it was adapted from that, and so you might hear the movie. There's been a couple of movies out on the big cartoons, either Legend of Sleepy Hollow or Ichabod Crane. There's and what he
Father,
was,
isn't that in Cherrytown, New York?
it might be.
Sleepy Hollow.
Yes, it's in New York. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My husband has been working up there. He's had a job up as well.
Huh.
And my husband goes, "Oh, yeah, Sleepy Hollows, it's there." I said, "Isn't that Cherrytown?" He goes, "Yeah."
Yeah. Yeah, that's weird. So there was a real town named Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, see, this is what I don't know about this stuff. I don't write encyclopedias of the phenomenon. We got the little video of the trailer for the one that had Christina Ricci and Johnny Depp. They played this kind of bumbling detective, with a Coke bottle, glasses, magnifier glasses, and all this stuff. He seems so amateur.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, I like it better than Captain Jack Sparrow. But the Headless Horseman, I like... Another one was the flaming pumpkin or something, too, I guess. Whatever. He throws a pumpkin at you.
Is anyone suspected?
Constable, how much of your superiors explained?
Only that they were slain, their heads found separate.
Their heads were not found separate. Their heads were not found at all.
Headless
Their
Ghost.
heads are.
And that was released in
Taken by the
1980
Headless
with
Horseman.
Jeff Goldblum, remember? Jeff Goldblum played.
Oh, yeah.
And Matt Foster.
Yeah, he's still a young pup.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, I forgot about that. I'm trying to get the earpiece
Then
in.
there was also one that came after 2006, but it had to do with, it's called The Hollow, but it was Ichabod Crane's descendant, played by Kevin Zegers.
Now it's getting weird.
And so he conjures up the Headless Horseman, and then, the horseman goes on a killing spree.
Yeah, what on
Ken,
earth for?
turn down the video.
Oh, what's that?
Some people are saying they can't hear Father Bob because the video is too loud.
Well, I turned it off. But yeah, that thing's just I'm gonna have to change all these in advance, and I have to turn it on before I can change that now. That's the problem. So yeah, what a
Okay, and for
blunder.
those who want to know where Farrah is, she's on assignment tonight, so I don't have to keep putting that in the chat room. Farrah is, no, Mom, don't listen to that. Go this way. I said, okay.
That's weird. It disconnected and reconnected. At least it does that. Little seamless.
Oh, the video?
Yeah.
Okay.
So just so people know, it's just we're just talking about the Headless Horseman and the legend. So, well, this one, I don't know. I mean, it's a myth, but some truth is in there. You have some stories of Screaming Skull. I couldn't find the one I was thinking of, but there's a whole bunch of them. It seems like they all took place in England too. And it was.
Oh, really?
Did it inspire the movie, the old black and white one? Pretty cheesy. I tried to watch it, when I had Amazon Prime, and I just didn't. It's like, man, I can't stand this any longer. It's so cheesy. But there was one story where the head got separated somehow or another, and they put it in a glass case because it was a family member, one of those big mansions again, and, probably in Europe or Britain or something like that. And what happened was one of the members of the household, somebody, they heard this strange sound like like that. And they went and looked around the house, and they went into the room, and then there in the case was the skull. It was like the teeth were chattering, and the sound was coming from it. And eventually, what they decided to do is that they were going to put the head back in with the grave. Some of these people requested that their head be buried in the house or in the walls. Isn't that strange? And so that's what yeah.
No way, Ken. There's no way I would want any family member's head buried in the walls or on my property.
Isn't that strange? I'm not sure. Why would you want to do that? It's like, and then it turns out, you can't get rust when you have the head separated. And I think some of these stories go from the headless. How many times have people heard of prom stories? You go and check out an old house after everybody gets out of the prom. And it's something like, oh, yeah, he's looking for his lost head. Well, that's based on some old legend, and they seem to have more of a problem without their head and in another place, even if they request it upon death. Depends on who the individual is. I think that, if they go to hell, it's not going to really matter where they go, and it just means they have one foot in the door to haunt the place for another reason, for, demonic manipulation and oppression, using that spirit. But, that's one. It was on Kolchak. It was a headless biker, if you remember Kolchak, the Night Stalker.
Oh, the Night Stalker, yeah.
Yeah, they're running that on Netflix.
The new thing about the Headless Horseman, it's a uniquely American, when you think of American Halloween celebration in New England, the Headless Horseman, that is like the quintessential story, fictional character for Halloween.
In the legend, they don't tell you who the Headless Horseman was, do they? In the original legend, the Ichabod Crane.
No. There was one that he was a henchman or a Hessian.
Yeah.
The one with Johnny Depp, I think.
Yeah.
Trying to explain him as a soldier, an evil or a soldier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But no, I don't think they actually in the original ones.
Yeah, I like that version, but they just kind of made, I know they always call it white witchcraft. You got this, his mother, I guess, Johnny Depp's mother. He has these memories or vivid dreams of his mother, and she's in the woods, and the butterflies are forming around her, and she's floating, la da 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 da. So it's an illusion. Christina Ricci draws some, occult symbol of some sort underneath Johnny Depp's bed to supposedly protect him from the horsemen, and she does it right there in the church on the floor too. So that's one of those confused stances. It's like, listen, everybody got to know. Look what happened to Solomon. Okay, what did David do? He killed indirectly. He arranged for his death. Uriah, the husband of Bathsheba, to cover up his adultery. And it worked. It's like sending him to the Russian front if he's Colonel Klink. You're not going to come back. That was just kind of way it was known in World War II for the Germans. And Arnie
says, "I know nothing."
Yeah, I know nothing. Colonel Hogan, please don't do that. You give him a candy bar, and he's like,
"You guys hear this week about these two kids? Two girls. They were 11 and 12 years old." I think they were in Florida, and they had a sleepover. But then the next day when they went to school, they had plans on killing their classmates with a knife and a pizza cutter. And I think they showed a pen.
Really? Was it girls?
And they met in the girls' room.
Yeah.
And I forgot who got wind of it, but they had plans on taking their classmates out. They wanted to start with the younger kids first to make sure they could take them out. And then they wanted to kill themselves because they wanted to give themselves to Satan. This is 11 and 12-year-old girls in Florida.
It's like that Slender Man story, same kind of thing. Go ahead, Father.
Yeah, because they had a sleepover, a slumber party type of thing, and they watched spooky movies for Halloween, and they got into it, and that's what they wanted to do. Can you imagine this?
I know. How would you like to be?
11 and 12 years old.
Yeah, they were young, too, on the Slender Man, and, I know. Why girls? That's definitely a way to get in. I mean, in between abortion and the popularity of witchcraft versus guys.
Actually, Ken, we have somebody from the chat room, I guess, that knows about it also. And they said, the news said, these young girls practice Satanism.
Yeah. A form of it, a lot of it's dabbling versions, like instead of belonging to a real coven.
Come on.
They wouldn't be so sloppy if they were in a coven. They would do it more discreetly. And they would, probably do a stranger, not necessarily a friend. But that when they dabble, it's like they're without direction, so they'll go down faster. That's what the whole thing with Satanism and stuff. You make a deal with the devil, you're trying to maximize the deal with the devil. You're going to go to hell regardless if you die and you don't break that deal and go back to God. But that's the unfortunate consequences, too. Without this direction, they can take you anytime they want and kill you. They'll probably puppet you around to get you to do malicious things. You'll end up rotting in jail the rest of your life. But, when you get into the high sadism thing, they make arrangements to make sure that they don't get beat up by the things they conjure. They don't get caught by the law. It's all of this. All these protection schemes are involved with that religion, so you can do your selfish deeds. And these are dabblers.
Arnie just mentioned something, and he might be onto something there. Like these young kids who are willing to do this, and they practice Satanism. How do we know, or we don't know, that their family already is into Satanism, and they're raised that way?
Yeah, the generational stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I suppose appropriately, Wicker Man would be a good topic because that reminds me a little bit of the, we're talking about girls and witchcraft. The Nicolas Cage version was with all women, kind of a feminist version of the witchcraft thing, where it was Lord Summer's Isle, I think it was. And in the Nicolas Cage version, it was Sister Summer's Isle or whatever. And they called themselves Sister Dad. That's what they call themselves Lady. And this new the one who kind of like resurged it and combined all these different things, Druidism and all that. But Wicker Man, this is the old one if you're watching the screen there right now, is the one with,
in the name of God, woman, what kind of mother are you?
Christopher Lee.
I can stand by and see your own child.
Played, he was in this couple Star Wars and Lord of the Rings too. So the legendary Christopher Lee, God rest his soul. Lee.
And you heard they already made a movie about Slender Man, right?
Oh yes.
It had taken place. They, forbade it to be played in the theaters.
I thought I saw something about there, and I go, when did that come out? But I'm not interested in that. One of the things about horror movies and Halloween or anything, I don't like the blood and gore part. We had this thing where they had these bloody props. I never liked that kind. I like the ones like the Changeling, Legend of Hell House, and all of those, and preferably without nudity, and because it's like we don't want to push it, and especially in what we do, we gotta be good boys and girls. But Wicker Man with Nicolas Cage, it's just I don't know. I'm just gonna, what did it say? Peed me off.
We would know.
It was like watching Kathy Bates, when she had that writer captive.
Oh my God! Oh jeez.
And that's probably what they do. What's this, Burning Man or something like that? Who says there's not some guy gagged and bound inside that thing before they burn it? $100 says there is. Those are all pagans. They got pouring tents and all this other stuff. I mean, that's the light part of it. The symbols and symbolism you see there. I mean, it's maybe they avoid showing the more shocking and blatant that you have to go there and see the inside. It's hidden behind tent curtains. People sometimes may want to go in and investigate it, but the original one, I can't even remember if I've seen it. I did run into a clip online, and it's like this woman walks between this clearing, like there's some hedges, and there's 12 women totally naked, standing up, and it's like, what are these weird white outfits? I'm like, grief. So it's like, yeah, they did a little blatant full frontal nudity like they did in Ghost Story and some of these other ones where you don't even see that so much now. It's kind of weird. We took a dip in Hollywood a little bit on some things. Even the action movies they always made sure they had some sort of a gratuitous shot, and then they backed away from it. Where you don't see anything, but they might make out and stuff, but you don't see. I mean, if you compare the two, you know what I'm talking about. I don't want to bore anybody with that part of it. We're going to get off topic, but anything to add about Wicker Man, Father? What was the original origins of this thing that inspired, say, the Christopher Lee version of it?
Well, I mean,
God in heaven, even these people can't be that mad.
People on this island, they had rejected Christianity to practice this pre-Christian worship pagan rites, and it was the whole thing. I believe, I can remember, they prayed. They prayed for productive year, on the land, and when it didn't go, what they would do is they would sacrifice somebody so that next year that wouldn't happen. And that's how that went. And this guy comes over to, with that, he's a Christian, and then realizes that these people had abandoned that. And then at the end, I believe he goes into this big Wicca. They build this big straw man.
Yeah.
And he's in there, and they burn it at the end
with him in it. Oh yeah. That's what I didn't like. I don't like it when a hero loses. You watch the whole thing, and then they die in the end. It was like watching Nell die in that 1999 version of The Haunting of Hill House. I mean, that character wasn't as likable as the one on Netflix. I felt really bad for the Nell character in this other one. We're going to review that Netflix version and stuff, and I won't give any spoilers or anything right now, and we'll put something together on that. The symbolism in some movies, sometimes they use fake symbols you've never seen before, but now it seems like they go out of their way, except for the satanic star, the upside down star is most common. It's like they make up symbols because they don't want to use other ones, or they don't do the research. I don't know. In the past they did that. And names and they make up cult names and stuff that don't exist, but they give it kind of hints that's a little bit of this and that, kind of like Jedi. The way it's a little bit it's primarily based on Buddhism and some other philosophies and stuff. And some Christian preacher made a good comparison talking about how it compares to Christian values. But I mean, a lot of people can make that claim as long as it's not a dark religion, except for the Sith. The Dark Lords. But, I got into a discussion with a friend of ours who's a priest, and he's a PhD, and I was kind of surprised he didn't know about the Star of David, which is also called the hexagram when it has a circuit around it. And I heard about and read about this for a while, but I was trying to tell him, I said that symbol has not been found in archaeological expeditions representing the old ruins of King David. In other words, they never found it on anything. It seems to have been adopted at a later time by the Rothschilds family, who are part of that conspiracy theory with George Soros and all these other kind of thing, this one world government thing. But that's, without the conspiracy theory, that's where the symbol first showed up, and with the circle around it. It's called the hexagram. But there's no such thing as the Star of David, and we're going all the way back to whatever they could find in clay tablets and all that But I thought it was more well known because there's people who talk about it like it's that's not really open and open for debate. But there's still symbols floating around out there, and they show them in the movies more often now, like the rock bands are. Not the blatant ones like the upside down star, but
even the swastika, the backward swastika, is an occultic symbol.
Mm-hmm. And that was Jewish in origins originally, and then the Nazis flipped it over upside down and inverted it, right?
Right.
Yeah, there's
what, the swastika?
Mm-hmm. I think it's just flipped over.
I don't know.
Yeah, they inverted it. Yeah.
Jewish.
I can't remember why they did that or anything, but that might be.
The Nazis were very superstitious.
Yeah, it's like they show them in Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's more of an accurate portrayal. Right. It really aggravates me the way people try to make it look like they're somehow conservative / right wing. There's nothing conservative about them, and they're a liberal party, Nazis and communists. Communism is, socialism is, and that's what Hitler was, and that's what Stalin was. That's what Saddam Hussein. He was a member of the Ba'ath Party. It was considered the liberal party. So I wish people would get their history right. That's the problem with being older. Now we see how stupid all the people are getting from college. All right, let's move on to the next one. This is a tradition, Father Bob, and you brought it up and I
Decía Octavio Paz en un ensayo sobre el Día de los Muertos que el solitario mexicano ama las...
I don't know how loud that is. This could be really annoying. It'd be like talking at the same level as somebody. It's like, all right, I can't get a word in edgewise.
In my research, The Day of the Dead, it was hard to find the movie in English anyway that corresponded to the actual piece. Because most of the stuff that I looked up were zombie kind of things. And that's not really what The Day of the Dead is. But I remember there was one called El Dia de los Muertos in Spanish. But, again, it was hard to follow. But The Day of the Dead is a beautiful Christian tradition from Mexico.
Yeah.
And it gets lumped in with the occult and all that, but it really isn't. It's it's out of ignorance that people link that together. Yeah. It's just where it's honoring the dead. And, a lot of that also comes from pre-Christian traditions of, the worshiping the dead, but then they Christianized it through honoring. And so they would honor the ancestors.
That's not good. Look at Voodoo did, though. Yeah, it's got some videos in here, and it's got like a devil's head with giant horns, and I don't know what this fist was. They were holding their fist up.
The Day of the Dead is a skull.
Yeah, it's a what's on right now is the parade, so part of the day, I guess. Yeah, I remember that movie, Day of the Dead. The Day of the Dead was when they got stuck at a mall, right? They got a shopping mall. Anybody still have one of those in your town still?
Was that Dawn of the Dead or something?
Yeah, Dawn of the Dead. That might have been a one. There's a scene in there I really thought was creepy when I was younger in the 80s. And this guy's down in this basement, and he goes into this one area where there's a sewer pipe drainage in the basement. And then all of a sudden this oogly boogly guy, this kind of skeletal looking rotting flesh guy with all this, sewer garbage or stuff that, when you unclog your drain and this black stuff comes out of the outlet. He's got all that all over him, and his clothes are all ripped up, and he's like, right. So that's a skeleton saying that. It's like, and then the guy, he starts to chase the guy, and the guy goes running up the steps, and on the way up, he crashes through one of the steps, it breaks in half, and ends up right down there in the bottom again. I'm like, oh no, get back up there. I don't know. That was a pretty good people moment where people in the crowd respond, but I didn't see it at the theaters. I saw it on videotape. Wasn't into the zombie movies. I was looking forward to the next Star Wars or Star Treks and action flicks and stuff like that back then. They get a little redundant. That is funny how it's like the Day of the Dead confused. Oh, good grief.
Right. But it's really a beautiful tradition, from our Mexican brothers and sisters. Again, but again, it has its roots in like the Aztec festival. But like many of our Christian feast days, originally they were pagan days that and then rather than with the tradition, rather than abandon, doing totally away from their traditions, they kind of baptized it and put it into a Christian perspective.
Yeah.
And so they didn't rob them of their culture and their traditions,
Yeah.
And the Day of the Dead is one of those.
Now on to werewolves. Right here's a clip from the old movie Evangelist. And that guy played Wolverine. I think he I miss him as Logan. This is that intense scene where the young brother turns into a werewolf. Oh, wait a minute, that was the other brother, I guess. Anyway, that's not important. The werewolf, so it's an interesting one. The legend gets kind of strange. Now, we know in some cases that, people have morphed a bit with animal features. The guy is a pig. I didn't see that right away. And some of these other ones that we know through the church, they look animal, the dog. But it might be an illusion by the demonic. But the legend on these things is somehow or another, when they thought they got bit by a thing, I think they probably, when you get dementia, you can become possessed easier. If you're already potential, your spirit was weak before you got dementia, you're offline partly, and a demon can step in easier. Like when you come out of anesthesia. If you're not in good spiritual shape, you'll be prone to acting temporarily possessed. And
Ken, I have to agree with that too, because I remember one of the Warren's cases, and they had one case, and his name was Frenchie.
Oh yeah.
Remember that case?
Satan's Harvest. That was the name of the book.
Yeah. So I believe anything could happen to anyone. After what I've experienced in my lifetime, because you can't explain it, and there's at that moment, there's no cure at that moment.
Yeah.
When you need a cure right away.
So
anything is possible.
Yeah, you got to keep an open mind on this. Yeah.
And the werewolf actually is one of the classic.
Off a deceased person and put it onto another person.
Yeah, I haven't seen a good example of that yet. It still looks freaky.
I've seen some. And just like the woman that was mauled by the chimpanzee, they gave her a face. She didn't have a face. By the time the chimp got through with her, this poor soul did not have a face. They actually created a face for her. These things, what these doctors are doing today is, extraordinary. I've seen more than one person so far that have new faces. Because that's like in the Frankenstein realm.
Yeah.
All the body parts going in and out. Reattaching and, taking from this one and that one.
Yeah.
That's all, back in the early days of Frankenstein.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what's that thought about?
And now it's some reality.
Yeah.
Even the whole thing about robots. So our experience, now.
That's funny. Robots come in again, and it's like they're creepy in a different way than they used to be. The primitive nature of these robots used to be not like robots.
Yeah, it used to be, but now it's becoming very, I believe, on the demonic side.
Yeah.
Because now they're used for sexual pleasure and everything. And people are actually falling in love with these things. This is a machine that's made by man.
Or AI.
So that's scary in itself.
Yeah, how far will it be before that they become so cheap?
And turn down the video clips, please.
Oh, no, not again.
Yes, every time it's...
That's what I mean. I'm off tonight.
Over your clips, you got to turn down the video.
I know. Oh, boy. That's the only thing I can't edit. I can't edit that stuff out because it's like it's over us. It's talking, and I can't filter that out, so I'm kind of screwing the show up. Oh, my gosh. I hope it's a better day tomorrow. But, yeah, with the werewolf, another thing, too, is it does parallel possession, and I don't think it has anything to do with getting bit by a wolf, but maybe they didn't know about rabies back then. If you get bit by a rabid wolf, they said that wolves usually just don't up and attack unless they got rabies, according to some documentary. The details are sketchy beyond that. But they might have confused that with demonic possession or, curse, acting like a wolf himself. And it wasn't a manifestation. Of course, then there's the other thing. If you see a demonic manifestation, well, supposedly from legend, and I don't have any proof of it, wizards were able to morph. But I don't think that happened. I think it's their doppelganger. I don't think that the devil is that good. From he mimics a lot of stuff. He fakes a lot of stuff. He can't create life. He can't have his angels have sex with a woman and then they get pregnant. It doesn't work. And don't say, they borrow the semen from the men. It does not happen. I've gone over that for a long time, years and years and years, and talked to every source possible, read everything possible. Don't even say that. God has life. The devil mimics it. He distorts it. The most you're looking at is a baby who gets the DNA distorted, and they end up monstrous. That could be with horns like a New Jersey devil or whatever, but it's distorted DNA for the most part because the devil does not have life. He doesn't have creativity either. He has to borrow and distort things to make it look like he made it himself. Even man has that edge on him. And that's another reason why he doesn't like mankind, human nature. Because people actually can come up with stuff on their own. They have a creativity thing. Like wisdom. How much wisdom does
I think most of these characters and superstitions were founded with some kind of truth in it.
Yeah.
Maybe primitive truth that people didn't understand. Like you said, maybe rabies, and that made someone froth at the mouth and act like a wild animal, or,
Yeah.
And, even, now, classic, one of my favorite Halloween personas is the vampire. I love vampire lore. And that was inspired by a legend, and most people don't know this, but Bram Stoker, one of his main inspirations for writing Bram Stoker's Dracula, not only from the legends in Romania, but also for legends in Rhode Island, the vampire legends. We have Mercy Brown, and in nearby Massachusetts they have Sarah Tillinghast. He heard about those, and basically what they were was blood disorders, but what was happening was people were dying, and people didn't understand that then, and so they called it vampirism. But they all had some kind of a basis in some kind of thing that happened, that couldn't be explained at the time.
It's interesting.
Father Bob, you and I live so close to those areas.
Oh, I know. It's a historical nightmare.
I just want to mention, somebody mentioned in the chat room, if Father Bob or Ken can divulge on this, this person says, some Luciferians claim to have shape-shifting abilities. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's an illusion. What do you think, Father?
Yeah, I think if it's demonic, maybe, demonic entity, I'm sure it didn't shapeshift. I don't think a human entity can. I would like to doubt that.
But I'd throw that out there because it was mentioned in the chat room.
Sure.
Yeah, that's kind of in the same way that, It's not.
I mean, because obviously they must have read it somewhere, but I don't think a human being could do that. Now, it's like I said, evil spirit. Yeah. So we've heard of those.
Yeah, it's like and there's a list. It's in Aquinas, and then later on you had Jordan Allman, another priest. He was very well known in the 70s. And he had a list, and it was a short list. I think we'll do a show about that, what demons can't do and what they can do, and we'll go over all of that stuff on that day. And who knows? I mean, we don't really have our all scheduled up after November gets here, after next week's show, which we're going to talk about ghosts, purgatory spirits, holy souls, because Friday is close to Halloween, which is All Souls Day, and then All Saints Day is November 1st. So we're going to talk about All Souls Day, not in the sense what we did tonight. We're going to talk about what it means to the church, and you know what? While we're on it, let's finish up on the vampire thing first, because it's a good topic. I got Blade playing here, and what I noticed about Blade is they have this vampire, this Council of 12. It's like they parallel generational Satanism, the really old Satanism that they say the big families, there's about 13 of them that are generational, and they go way, way, way back, and fascinating concept. But it's funny, the vampire culture, in these movies, even Blade, will often kind of have this element in there, except that they get distorted. They're not bothered by crucifixes, they're only bothered by garlic.
That's why I don't watch those.
Yeah. I like Blade. I like Blade, though. Yeah. And, of course, the vampire... Go ahead, Father. I'm sorry.
The Lost Boys was good, too, and Salem's Lot, and... and also the... and Bela Lugosi, Christopher Lee, those were vampires.
Yeah. Yeah, I got the Salem's Lot poster and the Christopher Lee's Dracula on there.
Yeah. I was just looking in the chat room, and I remember, Christopher Lee, Vincent Price, Bela Lugosi, Lon Chaney, the classics by Ashley mentioned that. And you and I, and we all say Bela Lugosi, but in Hungarian it's Bela Lugosi. And he was Hungarian, and my mother was Hungarian and Italian, and my great uncle, he would always hang out with Bela Lugosi in down in the old Hungarian end of town,
Wow.
So I learned about him, and my great uncle, he's passed, of course.
So that's a famous accent,
I'm older than dirt.
Was the accent?
Those bring back memories for me.
Yes, that's stereotype accent too.
And when he came from Hungary, and then he did his movies where they made them, but he hung out in South Norwalk, Connecticut.
That's interesting.
Bela Lugosi.
There you go again.
Pronounce it.
That darn Connecticut.
Yeah.
You're probably responsible for the disappearance of Roanoke.
Bob knows, and you know, Ken, that Dark Shadows was done in Norwalk, Connecticut. That's my favorite. It always will be.
And that mansion's still up, huh?
Well, actually,
it's still there. Yes, absolutely. And, they'll charge you a fee, and you can go through it. Or you could even have your own wedding held there.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Father Bob. What was that?
Well, the manor house itself, Collinwood, the facade is in Newport. It used to be part of Salve Regina University, one of the Newport mansions there. Now you can't really go back there because somebody bought it, and so you can't track
back. Yeah, but they had two places that they filmed at.
Exterior and interior?
And one was Matthew's Mansion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is in Norwalk, Connecticut.
The inside or the outside? Was that the inside?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question, Father Bob. Isn't it weird how they'll film outside on one place and film inside on another place?
I know.
Yeah.
Good thing you don't pay attention. You'd probably catch it if you looked and really paid attention.
I never even thought about it because they always bragged about it in the newspaper where I lived, which I was only a mile from the mansion, Matthew's mansion.
Yeah.
We should look that up, Father Bob.
Yeah, interesting.
Because I know definitely the facade. I went and saw it. I was like, whoa. Except it's more. It's not as wide as they showed you on Dark Shadows. It's a little more.
Yeah, I know, because they would always say, Dark Shadows is being filmed here or there.
Yeah.
But I remember hearing about the place you mentioned, but also remembered the place, I used to run home after school.
Oh, yeah.
Every night, it was a half-hour show, 4 to 4:30, and watch it with my mother. It was a soap opera.
Yeah.
But we weren't into the other kind of soap operas, just that one.
Yeah, they weren't
the genius with that was that they used multiple characters, a same character, for multiple characters. And they went, and the thing that I always loved was went from the present to the past to the future. Yeah. And the same star would be a different person in each. And it takes a lot of. It was, kind of a low budget movie. You could see mistakes, that would happen in the background every now and then. Mm-hmm. But it was wonderful. It was like it was the most popular at that time. Yeah.
In the 60s.
And we all fell in love with that. Yeah, we all fell in love in the 70s. We all fell in love with Barnabas Collins,
Yep, Barnabas Collins.
Yeah. Remember Angelique, the witch, I think her name was? Angelique,
yeah. And then you had Quentin Collins, who
werewolf?
played a ghost after a while.
Oh, yeah.
But they had everything in there. They had a werewolf at one point. They had a severed head at one point.
Yeah.
They did everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember when I was a kid.
The movie was
I remember
The Ghost
clear.
of Mrs. Muir.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hope Lang. Lang and...
Oh, yeah, we talked about that last time, Deb. All right. We don't want to be redundant.
I know. But how many people listened before and now can? I can't help it if my favorite movies are the same as Father Bob's.
Yeah.
That was in our era, Ken.
We should actually. We can't let it go by without mentioning that the whole tradition of Halloween is a uniquely American tradition because it's a melting pot. It began with the pre-Christian tradition, Celtic and even Roman, and then they brought that to America, but also it was Christianized too, because in the beginning, it was that they believed that, that the dead would come and haunt you, and so they even dress up, as animals and with animal costumes to scare them away.
Yeah.
The soul, And, they had the thing called mumming, which was they would go and ask, dress up, and they would ask for candy or money or whatever. And then later on, during the Christian times, they would have what they have souling, which they would ask for prayers for the dead, alms, and they would have these soul cakes that they would give them, the people, were usually children, and they would promise to pray for the souls. So then it comes out of a beautiful, Halloween comes out of a melting pot of traditions,
Yes, it does. Father Bob, do you know anything about mummification? I've always heard, I don't know if it's true or not, I've never even looked it up, but how well preserved mummies are, okay? I've heard all their organs came out through their nose. Is that do you know anything background about that?
Not. I know about mummies.
Because they weren't cut open. tummies were not cut open, and their organs were taken out through their nose. And how did people back then have that kind of knowledge?
Demons.
Yeah.
Seriously, I've always wondered that, because at one time, besides being a veterinarian, because I always wanted to be one, I wanted to be an archaeologist.
Well, I think because they're pagan, totally pagan, and not any kind of like butterflies, dancing around like naked in the forest kind of thing, but the darkness of these things, I think they got inspired by demons. It's not that hard. I mean, when you're a good Christian, you'll get inspired by your guardian angels, the saints, the Holy Spirit, and you'll be like, where did I get that from? Like in conference with clients, ideas pop in your head, and the closer you are to God, the more you're going to be influenced by the light side, or God in heaven, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
That was something that was always a mystery to me.
Yeah.
It's like, how can they get their organs out without cutting their bodies?
More advanced, right? Some of these cultures are just more advanced. You look at the pyramids. You look at certain things that even in ancient Roman days that they did that are still preserved to today and work so well, and things we have in modern days that don't work that well. I mean, it's just some, I guess, civilizations were just much more advanced in their technology than we give them credit for, I guess,
Yeah. It seems like a lot of trouble, and they're going to be like, oh, yeah, I'm doing that because if they're mummified just right, they'll be able to go, well, I don't have any brains or organs. What am I going to do in the afterlife if I can take this worldly treasure with me in this body, which is still mummified? Maybe they didn't. Maybe it took a while, and it wasn't in the lifetime of the. They called that the Book of the Dead too, the one that had the instructions in there. At least they did. I don't know.
Oh, the Book of the.
Yeah,
the Book of the Dead.
But you know what, Ken? That sort of sucks if you happen to be a servant to the person who died.
Yeah.
Because the servant had to go be buried with you.
Yeah, so they could serve them in the afterlife.
Oh, yeah.
Even if it meant killing them, right?
Yeah, it's like,
barbaric.
Too.
Yeah.
And your pets would go.
Oh, yeah.
And did you? What was the jack-o'-lanterns thing, Father? Did you bring that up? It got thrown in there quick with part of the Halloween tradition.
Yeah, jack-o'-lantern. I don't know about him, but I can. It's an interesting story. Maybe we can end with it. But the jack-o'-lantern is a classic symbol of Halloween.
Yeah.
And actually, the Irish brought it over, this tradition. But actually, it began with the Irish. It was turnips, because there were no pumpkins in Ireland. So it was thought, though, that when it came to America, they found pumpkins. So they used that. So the jack-o'-lantern was that.
Wow. Turnips.
Pumpkins. So originally they were turnips in Ireland. So the ancient Celtic cultures in Ireland did this on All Hallows Eve and placed a candle or a burning thing in there to ward off evil spirits. That's what they were for. Jack-o'-lanterns.
That's good. I think we're going to take about 15 minutes more at the most, and we got a few movies on the screen here for a little kind of an overview or something. Stay in tune. We've tried to bring it up the last time we ran out of time, but I got 3 clips playing. I got The Grudge, and Babadook, and the Lady in Black, or the Woman in Black. And part of the reason I bring those up, because it's a lot of those things are reminiscent of night terrors and true oppressive hauntings, infestations. Because at one time, Ghost, like I said in the other shows, Ghost was just a Canterville ghost. Kind of like Walt Disney Productions. It wasn't very true life to what I was taunted with or whatever, or my wife or anybody else. And some of these things, like, it almost brings back memories of, when you're a kid. And it didn't really start until Stir of Echoes, to some degree, which I get out on the screen now on the top. sort of echoes with the creepiness of this so-called ghost. It wasn't some semi-transparent like it was in Abbott and Costello movies or any of that stuff. It kind of creeped. But really, good ghosts don't really move like that. But demonics have a creep. There's always something unnatural about it, like the nurses and Silent Hill. You know, you get that unnatural, creepy feeling, and unnatural tends to be evil, demonic. It could be a human spirit, but evil human spirits don't work alone. There's always a demonic pulling the strings, calling the shots, or something. But I liked Babadook. But when the ending came, I was with it. The spoiler. Okay, it's been out a while, so if you haven't seen it yet, oh well. But that reminds me of Night Terrors, but they turned it into some sort of psychological thriller aspect. Now, how was she burned that in the barbecue pit? It's like Rear Window with Johnny Depp and a bunch of these other ones where it turns out, how about that one with the multiple personality with John Cusack? I forgot what it was called, Room. No, it wasn't Room, whatever, but and other personalities. One was this really big guy, and it turns out those are all his personalities. So we're watching all this stuff in his head. And so this is all in this gal's head. She burns the book, and then it magically shows up in the house. Where did it come from to begin with? What's this creature to push the bowl back? Is she imagining all that stuff? I mean, is it just a representation of her mental condition? It doesn't make sense when they do that stuff. They turn it into a psychological thriller, but they show all elements that can happen to kids in Night Terrors and all that kind of stuff, except for the tapping when he crawls on the ceiling. But and the Babadook, you hear growls and heavy breath, sound in front of your face, when you got your face covered up. And I mean, they got some of these things too true to life. It almost brings back a childhood trauma or something. But did you see Babadook, your father?
No.
Babadook or Babadook? Babadook. Got the charismatics mixed with that.
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
No.
Yeah, I think it's a good movie.
I saw an interesting one the other night.
Yeah.
A couple of nights ago. Talk about where these things came from. They don't explain it. The Midnight Man. And that's the woman. It has two candles. You got to knock time. Then you play the game, and it's like a boogeyman. It comes into your. It becomes a reality, and people get killed, of course, and all that. But it's all that. They keep finding these candles and how to play this game. They're going to put their blood on the parchment and all that. And you wonder, where did that start? But the movie doesn't sort of say that.
I don't know. That's like, do they have teenagers in it? Young college people? Yeah, we try to avoid that. When you look at the back of the box or you read the description on Netflix and it says, 3 friends, and then go to cabin. And, are they teenage or are they college? Yeah, it's going to be stupid.
Exactly.
It's better when it's adults than the kids or their family members. No offense to the kids on that, but it goes in the wrong direction. They turn it into a teenage date movie, even when it's a slasher. You hear the girls and all that screaming through the whole movie and stuff. Like Scream and all those are bloody ones too.
No.
But yeah, I don't
watch no slasher movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he loves to watch Halloween, and he likes all the Halloween movies. And I'll leave the room and say, okay, the TV's yours tonight.
Yeah, and they're more gory now than ever.
If I fall asleep, I turn the channel. I don't like stuff like that.
Yeah, I saw one too, but the other Halloween actual Thanksgiving symbol is a scarecrow. And I saw one of the movies. They have several different ones about it, but
what's the best one?
And the scarecrow keeps coming to get them. It's they have a few of those different ones.
What's the best one? What's the best one in that thing? Because
I don't know. The one I saw is called the Scarecrow. I don't know.
The Scarecrow. Yeah.
And the other movie I don't like is Jason.
Yeah, that's just like Halloween. I think it's actually kind of a rip-off of Halloween.
Yep.
Now he's got a machete instead of...
Yeah, but those things are basically those are offshoots, not the traditional classic Halloween movies. They're, they've come in much later. They're not the with the Headless Horseman, the Frankenstein, the werewolf, and stuff like that. These are kind of like.
Yeah, because even when they got the Slender Man now, and then you had new characters, the Scream guy, the murderer, that was his mask, and Jason, that was a mask, and Michael Myers, of course, and we're going all the way back into the 70s on that. But that's just non-traditional. I mean, the traditional ones of Ghost and all this other stuff. Charlie Brown with all the holes cut out in the.
Oh yeah. I mean, those are the fun. I mean, I call it fun to get scared, and then there's like the sensational, the slasher movies. But those aren't the like Ghosts or the Haunted House and stuff like that. And those are the classic Halloween ones that are they're fun. They're fun to watch.
Yeah, Pumpkinhead wasn't too bad.
But can you imagine the kids of today when they watch a movie? They get into it. They want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And they go out and create it. And hopefully they get arrested.
Yeah, hopefully they don't create it like that. Yeah, where you get arrested or you should be arrested.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's
what's happening today.
I know.
It's actually working on their minds. So TV does get through to children. And they do have to be careful what they watch.
Yeah,
parents aren't going to... They're not going to be the Gestapo police and watch over the children like that.
Yeah, because they park them in front of a TV or give them. In the old days, parents used to give. Parents haven't changed in a lot of ways. They give tickets to the matinee, and the kids would spend all day in there, and they tell them to come home before it gets dark. So they'd watch all these marathons or whatever they'd call them of the old Dracula and Frankenstein and all those. And then they'd go home, and one of the comedians talked about that. You're going home, and it's starting to get dark after you've seen all those movies all day, and you're thinking, I better get home, as monsters are going to come out.
That's funny you should mention that, Ken, because when I was little, my grandmother was babysitting me, so my mother and father could go to the movies, which was just down the hill.